Welcome to Syndicated Nightmares, where each week we take a deep dive into an episode of Freddy's Nightmares based on the Nightmare on Elm Street film series. This week, hosts Dave and Michelle talk about Season 2, Episode 14, Easy Come, Easy Go, directed by William Malone, written by David Braff, and the original air date was January 14th, 1990.
Nice. That's my best friend in grade school. She's still my best friend now. January 14th is her birthday. So when this episode aired, we were probably sleeping in her living room, not watching Freddy's Nightmares, but she was turning 11 years old. Yeah, 11 years old.
Oh,
so
excellent.
All right. Happy birthday,
Well, happy
Angie.
Birthday. Excellent. And this is a sequel to Lucky Stiff. Great. So the description is, in this follow-up to Lucky Stiff, Greta, who has already murdered to avoid sharing her first husband's lottery winnings, devises a plan to rub out her current husband. Later, Greta finds out a deep, dark family secret when her sister Peggy drops in with her new husband for a surprise visit.
And Lucky Stiff is the one that had Squiggy from Laverne and Shirley.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It did, yeah.
Yeah, and Squiggy's character's name was Lenny in that episode.
No, I completely forgot that.
That's like one of the main things that I remember from that episode. Mm-hmm. And I think both of us actually liked that one. So it's
yeah,
nice
that was a fun one.
Yeah, it's nice to have a sequel to it.
And so this one, would they bring back Mary Crosby, who shot JR on Dallas, and Tracy Walter, who I know he has like tons and tons of credits, but I think of him as the Joker's henchman in the Michael Keaton Batman movie.
Oh, okay.
He's like the Joker's right-hand man.
Okay. And is he the one who plays Eugene or Wes?
He's Eugene.
Okay. The groundskeeper. Oh,
right. And I guess there's a third guy from Lucky Stiff who comes back as his twin.
Yeah. Yeah, we have a lot of cameos in this one because they're all coming back. So it starts off with kind of recapping what happened in Lucky Stiff. Greta ended up marrying the groundskeeper of the cemetery. His name is Eugene, basically out of blackmail. He said, if you don't marry me, I will turn you in for killing Hank. And she agrees to it. And he keeps telling her, like, I love you for you. I don't care about your money. I don't care how many husbands you had before me, just as long as I'm your last husband. That's all I care about. She's just totally grossed out by him. Like, his teeth are rotting, and he's always dirty. He never showers, and he's always carrying around a shovel because he never knows, I guess, when he's going to have to bury somebody.
Right.
Married to Greta, it's probably a good possibility that he will have to. But yeah, so she's just totally grossed out by him, and they haven't consummated their marriage yet, and he has a plan for that to happen.
Yeah, and we cut to Freddy, and Freddy, there's like a flame on his blade, and he's like, I've got a way to turn up the heat. I felt like the cutaways in this episode were sort of phoned in.
Yeah, it's very hit or miss with his cutaways.
But yeah, so apparently Greta's most recent husband, because she has two dead husbands.
Lenny is from the lottery, so that was like her first husband. And then Hank was the guy she was having an affair with while she was married to Lenny. And then she killed him by hitting him over the head with the shovel and burying him in Lenny's tomb.
But now Hank's body is in the freezer in the basement. Mm-hmm. Which I like that they still use the freezer for food, and it's just like body over here and food over here.
Yeah, it's like one of those walk-in meat freezers that you see on such that trope butcher shop that you just walk in and you see like big slabs of cow meat just hanging in there. So it's stuffed with it's just stuffed with regular sized prime rib and all that. And then in the very front, Hank's frozen body, he's still like in his jean jacket and all that. His frozen body is just stiffly there. Yeah. And so she'll like kind of like move him to the side to get to the prime rib or whatever meat they're having that night. and then puts him back.
Yep. And Eugene says that he'll bury him as soon as they consummate the marriage.
Mm-hmm. Because Greta's like, why can't we just get rid of Hank's body and then we can hire servants and live like the millionaires that we are? And that's when Eugene is like, well, as soon as you have my child, I'll bury him. So, I mean, he's kind of respecting her wishes of don't touch me, but kind of not. It's a gray area, I would say.
Well, he's blackmailing her, but he's not physically aggressive. Yeah.
So, oh well. Maybe it's kind of like Beauty and the Beast, where Belle is kind of held hostage until she just naturally falls in love with him.
And in this one, Belle is a terrible person.
Yeah, so we don't really feel bad for her, but it's still like Stockholm Syndrome.
Hank's, the dead guy Hank's brother comes to the door, and his name is Wes, which I wonder if it was in honor of Wes Craven.
Oh, maybe. We'll just say that it is.
Sure.
Okay.
And he's there. This made me feel old, but he's like, I'm here to, Hank is my twin, and it's our 30th birthday, and so I'm here to celebrate.
So Wes doesn't know that Hank is dead. Greta tells him that Hank ran off shortly after they got married. Wes is just like, well, yeah, Hank was never the marrying kind, so I can kind of see how that happened.
And then Eugene comes in and thinks that Wes looks familiar because Wes is Hank's identical twin, and it's the same actor from the last episode.
Wes vows that he will track Hank down and has decided to stay in Springwood while he's looking for Hank. And so Greta starts to get the bright idea of, oh, hey, you look exactly like your brother who's missing. And I want to say, like, she kind of wanted to put Wes in Hank's place and then that way kill Eugene, and then she would just be with Wes and the whole world would think that it was Hank, sort of thing. But she never really came out and said that part.
Right. But then wouldn't Wes be missing?
Yeah, so that's why I didn't understand why she thought her plan would work. And maybe she realized her plan wasn't going to work, and that's why she didn't actually say it. That's just like what I was piecing together. But
yeah, because she does get a look like identical twin.
But, how can I use this to my advantage? But I don't think it was going to work the way that she had originally thought it would.
Right, and story-wise, there's no reason he couldn't have been a fraternal twin, like he did. It never factors in that he looks just like him. So her first step in this, whatever plan she has, is to seduce Wes. So she invites Wes to come into her room to unzip her dress. And I guess he's questioning why she's married to this dirt-covered groundskeeper. And she's saying that she was vulnerable and Eugene took advantage of her, and she doesn't want to get a divorce because she has $20 million and she doesn't want to lose half her money, which seems a little greedy. Like if you're in this miserable, awful situation, I think getting out with 10 million would be okay.
Yeah, but I also wonder, like, 20 million was the amount that she won in the first one, but then she didn't she buy a huge mansion and she bought a whole bunch of stuff, so I don't think she has all of the 20 million still, but she keeps referring to it as 20 million.
Yeah, but then she, later in the episode, she withdraws it, and I was thinking that too, she can't still have 20 million. But yeah.
Yeah. But that also just might have been a lie that she was telling Wes, because she doesn't want to lose her money, because Eugene has made it abundantly clear he doesn't care about the money, that if she divorces him, then he will tell that, she killed Hank. So that's really her reason of staying. I don't think she cares about losing 10 million. So then she kind of plots the bright idea into Wes's brain, like, hey, if you kill Eugene, then we could be together and still keep all my money.
Yes.
Once he finds out about the 20 million, well, before he really wasn't on board with it. He was like, I'm not going to kill anybody. And then he finds out about the 20 million, and then he's like, well, Now that you mention it,
Mm.
murder has always been on my bucket list.
Yeah. Yeah, and then there's a dream about Eugene coming into the room with a shotgun and shooting Wes. Yeah, and then Wes wakes up and it's like, we should kill Eugene.
Yeah, and I kind of got the impression that because Wes had that dream, that he was under the impression he was killing Eugene out of like future self-defense. Because he realized like, oh, in time Eugene would probably kill me.
Like he and Greta spend one night together and then they're making life plans.
That's how she works, though.
Yeah.
See, that seems so normal for me because I'm sure you've heard of the lesbian U-Haul jokes.
Oh, yeah.
That's like legit how it is. So yeah, sleeping together the first night and then moving in the next day, like that is not uncommon. So I was totally on board with what Greta and Wes were up to.
Yeah. So they're moving forward with the plan to kill Eugene, and he's gonna inject this like paralytic agent into champagne.
Wes and Greta are in the living room celebrating the fact that Wes is going to stay for an undetermined amount of time in Springwood while he looks for Hank. And Eugene comes in and he's like kind of showing off his teeth a little bit because he went and got his teeth fixed at the dentist so Greta would find him more attractive. And he was like, before you start asking about your money, I sold my shotgun so I could afford to do this myself. And I think Greta is kind of like touched by it a little bit. Also, like, so Eugene is more attractive now because she isn't repulsed by his teeth. And like, he really doesn't care about her money. He's a man and he wants to, fund his own way through life.
Yeah, she looks really touched. So then he turns down the champagne and Greta is fine with that because now she feels bad about trying to poison him.
Yeah, because I mean, even though he is blackmailing her, he is kind of a good guy, just like the Beast in Beauty and the Beast.
Yeah.
So we can forgive the whole hostage thing. It turns out Wes still wants to follow through with the plan of killing Eugene, and they come up with plan B of getting him drunk and then putting him behind the wheel of a car and like pushing it off a cliff or something, because I guess it's known that Eugene is a drinker, and so no one would suspect that there was foul play.
Yeah, and then there's a scene where Wes goes into the basement and Eugene pops out of the freezer and Wes is trying to kill him and Eugene is invincible, and then was pretty good effect. He gets him with like a pickaxe to the head.
It was kind of a really comedic scene because when Wes goes downstairs, you're thinking, oh man, he's totally going to open that meat freezer and see Hank. And when he opens it, Eugene is in there and he's like, I know you want to kill me. Here, try this tire iron. So he gives Wes a tire iron and like Wes hits him over the head with it. And the tire iron like bends in the shape of Eugene's head. And he's like and Eugene's kind of like, got a steel plate, sorry. He gives him a shovel. And Wes whacks him across the head with the shovel, and the shovel breaks. And then that's when Eugene is like, here, try this pickaxe. And that's what does it.
Yeah.
So it was a really funny scene.
Yeah, and then Wes wakes up and he tells Greta, like, next time you see me, you're going to be an unmarried woman, also known as a widow in this case.
Third time's a charm for Greta.
Yeah. So then he goes to the basement and he does find Hank's body in the meat freezer. And Greta comes down and she like feigns ignorance and she's like, Eugene did it. And Wes doesn't believe her and tries to strangle her, and then Eugene comes in with a shovel, knocks Wes with the shovel, and tells Greta that he loves her and not the money. And then, did you notice the magazine on the bed in the basement?
No,
It was supposed to like look like Playboy, except it said "Play Dead."
Oh my God.
That was the title of the magazine.
That's funny. So then, because Eugene basically saved Greta from being killed, she has a change of heart, and she actually does, I think, fall in love with Eugene because he's the first person who's actually wanted her for her and not her money. So she decides to consummate the marriage with him, and afterward they celebrate by having a glass of champagne. But only Eugene drinks it, so he dies.
And I like the look on her face, like it's just like this comedic, like, well, oh well, when he dies next to her.
Like, well, I'm sure husband number 4 is out there somewhere.
Yep. And then there's Freddy with his champagne, and he says something about lifestyles of the dead and infamous, which makes me think of like in Nightmare 3, like Kincaid makes a joke reference to that show as well.
Oh yeah, lifestyles of the rich and psychotic. Now we're on to the second half, and while I was watching the first half, we know by now that who's ever, like, at least one person who's in the first half is going to carry over into the second. And we only had 3 characters in the first half, and 2 of them wound up dead, so lucky Greta gets to go into the second half.
And she now has like numerous bodies in the freezer because she sticks Wes and Eugene in there.
Wes, Hank, and Eugene are all just hanging out in the meat freezer.
And then she bricks up the wall in front of the freezer, which, like, I had all these questions, like, how is she so good at bricklaying? And then also like the blueprint for the house or something. I mean, there's like electricity going into the freezer back there, and at some point someone's gonna notice that wall is not supposed to be there. Yeah.
A lot of questions. And like, how did she get, that would probably take about 200 bricks to do. How did she get 200 bricks from Home Depot to her house? Yeah, lots of questions.
But then a hand bursts through the wall and she wakes up. But I think later, she really did brick it up though, right? Because we see the brick wall later. And then she's with the executive from the bank, and she took all her money out of the account in cash, and I thought he said it was 20 million. And she's gonna move to Rio, but now I guess like breaking it up gives her more time. But yeah, if she was gonna run away anyway, did she need to put all that effort? Yeah.
If she's in Rio, I don't think that they would be able to follow her, even if they did find 4 bodies.
Yeah, and then there's Freddy, and he says something about how he's getting jealous of Greta's body count.
Is higher than his. Yeah. Yeah. She's home alone, and she's about ready to leave for her new life in Rio with $20 million. And the flight attendant calls and says that the flight from Springwood to Miami has been canceled, and she can't leave until tomorrow. And she's like really upset about it because apparently she really wants to leave right now. But if she wanted to, if Springwood is, we'll say, where Columbus is in Ohio, that's only a 17-hour drive. So she could have driven to Miami if she was in that much of a hurry.
That's true.
That's all. that was my thought. For her being in such a hurry, that 17-hour drive, like, it would actually take her longer to be able to get to the flight for Rio. But I don't know, maybe it was like the whole idle hands. She just didn't want to sit there and look at a brick wall for 12 more hours.
Yeah, I mean, she didn't know people were going to show up. There was no reason she had to get out so quickly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then it turns out people did show up. Her sister that she hadn't spoken to since her parents died, whenever that was, she decides to stop by with her new husband. His name is Sonny, and is also Greta's ex-boyfriend. Yeah, so her sister's name is Peggy, and Sonny is the new husband.
And he has an eye patch. Yeah, they come in and she says that Eugene is on vacation in Brazil and she's going to join him tomorrow, which is not where Rio is.
So then Sunny tells her that he is an attorney now and offers his services whenever she needs it. And I thought, like, oh, this is where the plot is going. Like, she's going to employ him to, I don't know, embezzle money or whatever she would need an attorney for, probably to annul all her marriages.
No, yeah, it has no relevance that that he's an attorney. But I liked the line. There's some line about, he's got to be in court tomorrow. And she's like, oh, what did you do?
Yeah. Yeah. And he was like, no, now I'm on the other side of the desk or something like that. So then Peggy takes it upon herself to invite her and Sunny to stay the night over at Greta. So she totally imposes on Greta, and Greta really isn't all that happy about it. But Peggy offers to massage her because she just took a class in massage therapy, and that will apparently make up for imposing on her.
Right. And so Sunny is coming to Greta's room to set up the massage table, and he hears Greta on the phone mentioning that she sold the house. So he asks her about it, and apparently they still Greta and Sunny have some animosity towards each other, and he accuses him of like being there to try to get her money, and he denies it, and he hates her for something that happened in the past.
And it has something to do with the reason why he's wearing an eye patch. Yeah, Sunny's basically like, I want nothing to do with your money. And then it flashes back to how he got the eye patch. And it turns out they were high school sweethearts that turned into like a college couple. And after all that time, they are out in his convertible making out, and she wants to break up with him, and he's like, after all this time we spent together, you're just not going to toss me to the side. And he goes to like make a move on her, and she dodges it, and for whatever reason he falls eyeball first into the gear shift.
Yes.
And that's how he loses his eye.
Yeah, that was quite the scene.
It was.
So I love that they put them in like 70s disco outfits.
Oh, right, they did.
But yeah, it was pretty gruesome. And then he like pops up, and it's not. I would think if that happened, the first reaction would be like, "Oh my God, my eye, my eye!" But instead, he's like, "I'm gonna get you for this."
And he's like not even really covering up his eye with his hand; it's just all exposed. And it's like, if you watch The Walking Dead, when Carl loses his eye, it looks very much like that. Like there isn't an eyeball hanging out or anything. It's just this gaping red bloody wound that you can like see all the way to the back to his skull. And he's just like, I'm gonna get you, not like, ow, my eye, like how you said. I'm gonna get you.
Like later that night, the three of them are eating pizza in the living room, and Sunny spills some beer on the floor, and then Mary walks out, and Peggy's cleaning up the spill, and they find the bank receipt about withdrawing the $20 million.
Then Greta is confronted Sunny confronts Greta about Eugene's disappearance and selling the house and where this $20 million went. And Greta does a pretty good job of dodging his questions and basically sees him out of her bedroom. And Sunny decides, like, well, I'm just going to go find the money myself. And in the middle of the night gets up and starts like ransacking Greta's room.
Yeah, he can't find the suitcases in her room, so then he goes into the basement and sees a blood spot on the floor near the brick wall. There are also, like, if you were laying bricks, there would probably be a mess of like extra bricks and
extra like bricks and the cement and everything. Yeah, I was a mason for one summer, so I can like yeah. Oh yeah, my sister's boyfriend at the time, he flipped houses, and I would go in there and do like the deconstruction of the houses and put up drywall and any of like the like outline a brick fireplace, stuff like that.
Yeah. Oh, nice.
And so I can tell you for a fact that the cement part to put the bricks together like really leaves your hands dry. So she would like have to be putting lotion on her hands all night long because it just sucks the moisture right out of your fingers.
Oh, wow.
Mm-hmm.
So is it that easy so he ends up like breaking the bricks out of the wall, like, which sort of reminded me of Yvonne in Nightmare 5 when she
Oh,
like
yeah.
just pokes the bricks out of the wall.
Well,
But is
she
it,
at least had like rhubarb to try to break through it. And that wall had been there for a while, so I'm sure it could crumble pretty easily. But no, the way he was able to, unless it was still really, really wet, I don't think he would be able to get in there so easily.
Or maybe Greta's just bad at it, at laying bricks.
That's very true.
But yeah, so he breaks through a brick wall pretty easily and finds the bodies back there.
And they are wrapped up in tin foil.
I'm not sure why, but it lets him like bring the foil up to her room and, throw some crumpled foil at her and say, "I found the bodies." Yeah,
so now he's definitely after her money. He wants the $20 million or he's going to turn her into the police. So it seems like Greta has found herself in a blackmail spot again.
She says the money's buried outside and it's too dark right now. And so he says he's going to stay in her room and watch her to make sure she doesn't go anywhere. And then they'll dig up the money in the morning.
And it doesn't really seem to concern him that Peggy could wake up at any point in the night and realize that her husband is not next to her.
Right. That's true.
So, well, whatever, Sonny. Greta wakes up and she's like trying to get out of her bedroom, but Sonny is there and he starts like taunting her about the money. And she's like, just take it. And he's like, I don't want the money. I want your eye.
Oh, yeah.
An eye for an eye, Greta. She wakes up from her nightmare and she's like thrashing all about from her nightmare and Sonny wakes her up and she decides she starts seducing him and she's like, we could like get back together and spend that 20 million ourselves. And he climbs into bed with her, and when he does, she shoots him and he dies. Seems like problem solved on her end.
Yes. But then Peggy comes in and sees, that her husband has just been shot to death. And she wants to call the police, and Greta offers to give her half the 20 million and says that, oh, by the way, I've killed 4 people. And then Peggy is like, it must run in the family. I killed mom and dad. So
I'll see your 4 and I'll raise you mom and dad.
Right, yeah.
So then Peggy starts going down like a reminiscing thought of, oh, it was really hard at first. I really missed mom and dad and I'm going to miss you too. So alluding to the fact that she's going to kill Greta next, which she does. She shoots Greta in her bed and Greta coughs up some blood and dies.
She's an evil character, but like after all that, like
I know. That's how you're gonna do her.
Yeah. And then Freddy just opens the door and does like a Porky Pig impression and goes, "That's all, folks." I wrote in my notes that's the best they could do because it felt like
it was so rushed and so out of nowhere. And it had like Porky Pig and Looney Tunes had nothing to do with this episode.
Right. It's like, we can't think of anything. Just have them say, "That's all, folks."
I know.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it was like one of those, okay, Robert, we're going to open the door on 3 and you just say whatever you want. Right. He's like, I got this.
Oh, yeah, they probably did like, 5 different takes and, and he said a different thing each time. Yeah.
How did you like this one?
Yeah, it was entertaining, and I liked that it was sort of a direct sequel to the prior episode. So yeah, it had a lot of things that don't quite make sense, but I thought it was fun. I enjoyed it. What did you think? I
agree with that. I think that it was a lot of fun. At no point was I like, oh my God, when is this episode going to end? So that says a lot with Freddy's Nightmares for me. I liked how they brought it back from Lucky Stiff. I thought they did a good job including all the characters and whatnot. So yeah, I liked it. I thought there was a lot of fun twists and turns, even though a lot of them didn't make sense. It was just fun. Thank you so much for listening. Please join us next week when we talk about Freddy's Nightmares Season 2, Episode 15, Prime Cut, where Freddy takes us on a hunting trip.